Welcome to Real Feels, the podcast that invites people to be public with their private persona. In a world where we are constantly redefining what it means to be a man, I'd like to take some time to find out who we are, who we aim to be, and the space in between. I'm your host, Brad Gage. Lisa Schwartz is an actress, producer, and personality who built a career being herself for an audience of over 2 million subscribers on YouTube. And being herself is about asking people to be empowered by the imperfect and leaning into the quirks of being your age, which she did with her 2019 memoir, 30 Life Crisis. After going through a very public breakup a few years ago, she has finally found herself in a relationship that gives her peace, balance, and someone to lay on the bathroom floor with her when she's hungover. I'm so lucky to have Lisa on the show today, where she taught me that there's always hard stuff. You're always evolving, and that's the beauty of it. We began the chat with her admiring the taxidermied bird that is a part of my studio set.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah. Do you like birds?
I do like birds.
Let's start things off real deep. You like birds?
I like birds, but a lot of people are afraid of birds.
Yeah.
Have strong aversions. I like them.
Oh, yeah. An aversion to birds.
Yeah. I don't know what that's about, but I think birds are lovely.
You have a dog.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you stuff my dog after her passing?
I mean, that's if you wanted me to.
Do I want
would
that
honor
though?
That.
Would I? I think that would be terrible.
No, you don't. It's so sad.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
Right?
You just let what's your dog's name?
Corny.
You let Corny have its moment. We don't need to talk about your dog being dead.
I just start crying. I'm like, you wanted a serious podcast. Right? Shit.
How did you get Corny?
We adopted her when she was a puppy.
You and Jeff?
No. I've had many a boyfriend since Corny came into. It's very confusing for the dog.
Okay.
No, me and Shane.
You and Shane did.
We got her. We adopted her. She was like a rescue, and we got her as a puppy.
Yeah.
Her real name's Unicorn, but Corny for short.
How are you doing today? Just
like today in general?
Yeah. How are you doing right now?
I mean, I'm a little frazzled from the drive. Not your fault. We're blaming it on the Prius GPS.
It's no person's fault.
It is, and I'm also I'm not great in the car. I feel like the older I get, the more neurotic I am, just generally speaking. And
or when
here
it gets
in LA,
dark.
When it gets dark, dude, I'm turning into my grandma. I'm I don't like driving in the dark, as I don't like driving on the highway in the dark. Who have I become? It's bad. It's bad.
I have heard you on another podcast talk about how you really do like to go to bed very early.
Yeah, when I was like, dude, can we start this podcast a little bit earlier? You're like, how about 8 p.m.? I was like, how about 4?
I get it.
Do you go to bed early? Boys don't go to bed early.
I'm getting better at it because I'm waking up early and going to the gym and doing stuff. We have me and my partner have 2 dogs and a cat, and so it is get all the business done.
Yeah.
And then you can focus on your business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean?
What
business you
I
talking?
mean feeding the dogs and cats.
Oh yeah, you got to
making sure they go out before and after.
I know.
Currently, we're both juicing. So
you on a juice
So we got to
cleanse?
do celery, which we have a slow juicer, and it takes a while. So the whole morning routine is about 35 to 45 minutes.
Okay.
And then when you're done with it, you're like, I can't do anything else now.
Yeah,
I just have to get to work.
Get up. You got to get up.
So I got to get up early.
Dude, celery juice.
Yeah.
It's making you poop good. It
does, yeah. There's a whole, there's a whole movement.
Yeah.
With the celery juice. It does make
intended.
You poop right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was not intended, but it was.
But it was.
These are all the things
you talk about
that
when you're in your 30s.
Yes.
The conversations change so fast, don't they? They really change. But I love these conversations.
What is something that you have seen happen that's a new thing that you may have gotten behind 10 years ago, and now you're like, fuck that?
But now I'm doing it. There's things now that I like. I feel like in your 20s, you were like, no, dude. Knitting is lame. And now you're like, yeah, it's therapeutic. You know, like that. In the flip side, though, waiting in line at a bar, waiting in line for a club, going to a club.
Yeah, I would almost raise the stakes on that for me. Going anywhere where I know it will be busy.
Oh, yeah. Why would you choose that lifestyle? Wait, tomorrow night, I committed to an event that starts at 10 p.m. downtown.
That's a Thursday night, 10 p.m.?
We like made friends with like younger folks to keep us young and hip. Bad move.
What is the event?
It's like some like 70s disco immersive experience. Very LA.
Immersive?
Yeah, like I think like there'll be actors there pretending kind of pretending like they're like in the 70s, like doing blow and stuff.
I know will have probably some joy and wonder in it, that you won't be there to be like, this is like stupid.
Right.
You know.
I mean, I feel like you can complain like before you go to things, but like once you're there, like you got to just jump in and try to enjoy.
Yeah. Have you always been like that?
I think so.
Jumping in, trying to enjoy?
I'll pre-worry forever, but once I'm there, I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the pre-worrying that's like the most traumatic.
What are you worrying about?
Everything. What aren't I worrying about? It's just in my blood.
How do you combat that? What do you do?
Zoloft, if I'm being honest.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I've tried everything. I mean, like, I think self-talk is great. And I also think just talking about it in general, like, helps. And just, like, years of, like, going to therapy and, you know, figuring out these tools and trying to be more centered and doing yoga and meditate, like, doing all those steps. But at some point for me, it became, like, a physical reaction, regardless of if I could talk myself out of panicking.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the drugs have helped me tremendously. I'm a huge advocate if it's right for you.
Right. And you have exhausted a lot of other things.
Dude, I waited so long. I mean, it got to the point where it was like, I can't leave the house.
Yeah.
So.
When did that
drugs.
happen? You couldn't leave the house.
It was right before the election, ironically, this past big election.
2016 election.
Yeah, I had this like memory of, I was so excited to vote for Hillary. And I was like, this is whatever your feelings are about her, I was like, this is a monumental moment.
Yeah.
Like for a woman to be able to vote for a woman, it was just like, oh my God, this is the day. And I remember like I got to the polling center and it was so packed and there was like lines out and like the anxiety, it's like a social anxiety if there's a lot of people in one place. And I was like, this isn't a big deal. Like just go punch the thing and be done. But like the physical reaction was so intense that I could barely like stand straight. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to like be a part of this like historical moment in the world because of my anxiety. And I got through it and I voted and then like the world fell apart. But then I was like, this is enough. I have to like, I don't want to miss out on like huge moments.
Yeah. But being around a crowd, like it sucks the energy out of you. Like, I guess like, I just want to understand what.
Yeah. I think there's several like
anxiety.
things like, I feel like I take on people's energies. So I'm especially in that, like it's such a heightened, like there's energy everywhere, but it's like some like irrational fear of passing out in public or doing something where everyone's all of a sudden looking at me. I don't like being the center of attention, which is ironic for like, the work I like, but like I like would rather like pass out in my car by myself and like have nobody help me than like do it in public. And for some reason it's just instilled in me when I go out in public that something could happen to me.
Yeah.
And it would be, I don't know if it's embarrassment, but like all the attention would be on me.
And the passing out thing, is that something that happens? Or?
No.
Oh, okay.
Dude, I've never passed out in my life. That's what like a fucking like irrational fears are about. Like I have friends who are like super afraid of like barfing in public and have never really had it happen.
Yeah. And you're just cooking up things.
Oh, it's just all irrational.
Yeah.
But I have a theory. Well, it's not my theory, but like past life. Do you believe in past life?
I do.
Yeah. Have you, what is the book about past life regression or like people's anxieties coming from their past life? Many Lives, Many Masters.
Okay.
Great book about this like therapist who basically was working with this one woman and they couldn't get her past this like irrational fears that she couldn't like nail down. So he puts her under a hypnosis and she starts like revealing all this information like super specific about her life in like Egypt and like to the point of like how she would build the like, you know, make blocks and this and that, like stuff that she would never know in real life.
Yeah.
And then they uncovered like how she died in past lives. And then once they like uncovered that, her fears were gone. Great book.
Yeah. I mean,
I love that stuff.
Did that book introduce you to that idea? Were you already kind of thinking about that type of stuff?
I think I've like always sort of had that spiritual like element.
Yeah.
But like that book is fun because it comes from a doctor's point of view who really didn't have
Right.
tool set and those theories.
And so she had to kind of find the tools. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really neat. How about you?
I've always felt a connection to like God, but I grew up Catholic. I've had a couple moments where I'm like, I really need help, and it kind of a moment of grace happens.
Yeah.
And so I forgot about that for a while. Dated a couple atheists, and then my current partner is just like, well, you know, any of that stuff, sure, but just like, what about spirit yourself? Like, you know, there's something inside you that's special. So I started reading some books, Seed of the Soul, Gary Zukov, all of them Oprah books.
Yeah.
You know? Seed of the Soul, Untethered Soul, looking into people like Ram Dass and Eckhart Tolle and stuff like that. Do you know? Do you read them?
Power of Now.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then we both got our Akashic Records read. Do you know about this?
Okay. This sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't know specifically.
So it speaks to what you're talking about.
Yeah, what is it
past,
based on?
Akashic Records are basically the records of your soul's journey.
Oh, wait, based on what?
Channeling with your guides. So these people who read them, who have been, and this is the kookiest hippy dippy shit. I doubted it so much beforehand.
Okay.
Even the moment before it started.
Okay.
And then the first thing she said, I just started crying. Because you go, this is truth that you don't understand how it's happening, but you're like, well, this is feeling true. It is so wild. And so through that, it's about karmic lessons. And so, you know, the idea is that we keep coming back to keep learning lessons and keep getting better at certain things until we kind of evolve spiritually to a place where we don't have to come back here anymore.
That's right.
And become a guide for other souls.
Super rad. I love that. And that we meet people, like that's where like soulmates come in. It's like I've been told from multiple like readers that my mom and I have been together in other lives, whether it was like I was her mom, she was my mom, like I love
or
that
dad
stuff.
or different,
or
it changes
sister,
genders.
whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting the types of lessons that repeat in our lives until we evolve.
I feel like I talk about that so much on my channel, just about breakups, because I feel like demographically, like speaking, a lot of people like that watch me are like curious about breakups, and I've had some pretty public breakups. And I think like as you get older, they become easier, even if in theory they're like more heartbreaking, but because there's this concept of like, oh, I learned so much from this, and I'm taking these pieces and then applying them to the kind of person I want to be in the next relationship and the person I want to choose for the next relationship.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah.
If you can kind of like expand your mind in that regard and not be so hard on yourself in the situation in the moment.
Were you able to do that after your past relationships? Were you able to look at them in that lens?
Bonkers is like, so I broke up with Shane, and that was like dramatic and very public. And then, you know, I like dated around, and then I met someone, and we dated for a year and a half, and he was on people like know who he is through me. Like, you know, I didn't hide him from social media, but then we got to a point where both of us were just like, oh, this isn't working anymore. Like, this isn't progressing. Like, there was just no movement. And we broke it off so, like, it was a little abrupt, but it was so, like, okay, bye. And we just, like, turned different ways. And, like, I quickly thereafter met Jeff. And now I'm engaged.
Yeah.
Which, like, sounds crazy to most people. They're like, damn, you turned that around fast. But it was one of those, like, hey, we were able to recognize, like, this was great. We enjoyed each other's, like, it was pretty much a friendship. And, like, I don't regret any things, but I, like, learned a lot about myself and what, like, wasn't working.
Yeah. You had to learn a couple more things to be ready for Jeff.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about Jeff.
Wait, you know Jeff.
I do know Jeff, but I want to know, how does Jeff make you feel?
Oh my God, I'm gonna start crying. He makes me feel so happy. He makes me feel like the best version of myself. I actually just like feel wholeheartedly like myself. And I'm like, for the first time in like forever, I'm like, oh, I like genuinely love like who I am, and I genuinely love Jeff, and I genuinely like love us together.
Yeah.
And it just feels like smooth sailing. It's smooth sailing.
Yeah.
I mean, we have problems, like every couple has problems, especially like planning a wedding, y'all.
But good.
But good, like it would be
have
weird if
problems.
we didn't.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'd rather like work out the kinks, but the communication is like so much different.
Yeah.
And it's never like spiteful.
When did you know that you were in love with him?
Pretty quickly.
It's always tough to pinpoint a moment, but do you remember a moment when you could revel in knowing that you were in love with him?
I like remember a moment where I was like, oh, this is different. Like this person's like different. And it's like not a romantic story. It's actually like rather embarrassing, but like literally our second date, we went to a museum, which was cool. And then we went out for food and drinks, but we didn't eat that much. And we were drinking like weirdo drinks, like mixed drinks. And I got really sick, like really sick. I don't drink like that normally. I'm like a 2 drinks straight, like, and then I'm good. But you know, on your first day or whatever. So I was fine. And then we got home and he like dropped me off. And then the next morning I was so sick. Like I wasn't puking, but I was so sick. And he straight up like came over, got into bed with me, and I'm like haggard, and like brought me like, you know, he made me like the mix of the whatever his hangover cure is. And then at one point I was like, I'm gonna need you to just like step outside for a second. Like I have to puke. And I like go and puke, and he comes in the bathroom and just lays on the floor with me. And I was like, who is this person? And why am I okay with this right now? Do you know what I mean? Like I was like, this is so embarrassing. I don't do this regularly.
Yeah.
Like this isn't who but it was just so, we were just laying looking at the ceiling, and I was like, okay, this is different. So out of my hangover came a marriage.
Yeah. Well, it can be, and this is something that I honestly didn't believe was real. I thought it was a farce. I thought it was a fairy tale, and people who talk like this were kind of fooling themselves.
Yes.
Until you feel it and you go, oh, this is like, it is home.
Yeah, it is home.
The person is home, and it is easier, not easy. Nothing is easy, but it's easier. And yeah, being yourself, it's, I'm sure, a relief. You're able to focus on a lot more than, you're not running everything through a bunch of filters.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I don't feel worried that he's going to like change his mind and vice versa. Also, you want to hear something really dark?
Yeah.
Okay. There was a point in a relationship, I won't say which because then it's really dark, where I was like having doubts. And I like enjoyed being with my friends more or just being by myself more.
Yeah.
And at one point I was like, if this is awful. I was like, if this person like dies right now, like if something like tragic happens, like how would I like feel? Like would I like obviously I'm not like a sociopath. Like I would be upset, but would it be like, oh my God, the love of my life? Like, and I just remember being like, I don't think I would. And I was like, that's awful. I gotta get out of this. That's so dark.
But I think everyone can relate to kind of thinking about what would happen emotionally if their partner died.
Not like, I wasn't like, if I killed this person.
No, of course. No, of course, but you do.
Although I watch all those documentaries.
They don't text back, it's been an hour, and you go, are they dead?
Yeah.
And then you go, I'm checking in. How would I feel about this right now? You do want to be devastated. Like that's a relationship you want to be in.
Yeah, that's how we should all get.
That's a sweet way of saying I love you. It's like, if you died, I would be devastated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, me and Allie talk about if we died or something sometimes. And I think that's healthy because you can't ignore it.
You can't ignore it.
Act like it's not gonna happen.
Whole nother. That shit's crazy.
Death?
Yeah. Dude, that shit is bonkers.
Anyways, so you and Jeff, you've been together for a few years.
2 years, yeah, which is like very. If you're in your 20s, don't get married after 2 years. It's just like, I think by like, I'm turning 37 in a couple of months. And I feel like by the time like this age rolled around, I was like, oh, this is my person. Like there's no question here. Let's do this thing. Yeah. So. I
mean, on the topic of just him and men and stuff like that, to you, now that you've had these challenges and learned lessons and stuff like that, and now are in a relationship that you're like, this is the shit. What do you think it means to be a man? What do you think defines being a man? That's
like attributes that I like see in Jeff that I feel like are so respectable are like a willingness to communicate, a willingness to like look at all sides, and also a willingness to apologize and a willingness to like take responsibility but also like willingness to like push me. I don't know. He's just like super like rounded. And he's not afraid to show emotion. In fact, he's a lot more like sensitive than I am. And I think that's awesome and manly. And like, I don't know. He's just like willing to show up for people, and he gives so much more than he ever is willing to take.
Why do you think he has those things? Can you attribute that to anything in particular?
I think he took that position in his family and takes care. He takes care of his mom, like emotionally. And I think that's beautiful. I don't know. I just think he's just kind of came into the world that way too. He's just a good guy. He's like super like receptive, and like he picks up on things, and he's always learning, and he's just like, he's a better person than I am. Don't tell him I told you that. He's super smart.
I won't let him listen to this.
You know, like he's also willing to evolve.
Yeah.
And he's a teacher, so he teaches at the Groundlings. And so he's constantly like
a beloved teacher at the Groundlings.
A beloved.
From what I hear from people, yes.
And he's like dealing with people all the time. And I think that takes like a lot of like listening skills. And
have you had, this is a question I've never asked anybody, but have you had male role models in your life that you looked up to specifically? Because I feel like I've had a lot of female role models, which is why I'm able to talk about this type of stuff. But I just wonder.
I noticed that a lot with men who've been around females more. They're like easier, or they're like not afraid of periods. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like Jeff's like, periods don't gross him out. Like some men are so like, ew, periods, which is like, give me a break. Like,
where do you think that comes from? Why like what the fuck?
I mean, that's
it's half the population does a thing every month.
That's any closed-minded like person.
Yeah.
That's like a lot of times it comes from fear of not knowing, of embarrassment. It's like when people are like assholes to you and you're like, oh, the truth of the matter is they're just like so insecure. You know what I mean? It's like, it's usually like the opposite, or someone's like so homophobic. Many a times it's because they have tendencies themselves that they've been suppressed, or that their like parents like taught them this way. So I think it's the people that either were so blessed to have parents that like open this world in their mind to things, or people that are willing to like learn and are smart enough to like think outside of the box that they were raised in.
Yeah. Have you had many moments in your life where you've had to take on the role of kind of educator to men, and have you enjoyed that, or have you?
I've definitely been
mom.
I've definitely been mom.
Okay, but mom in the way though of like teaching empathy and justice instead of like picking up after someone, like as far as gender roles go a little bit. Have you had those moments where you're like, this is how women think, and had to explain those things?
That's a really interesting question that I'd have to like. I definitely have dated men that have done some like said some unruly and questionable things, but I don't know if I ever like. I think I just was like, okay, this isn't the person for me, or admittedly put up with it because I didn't know any better, or I was afraid,
or didn't know how to address it. Yeah, absolutely.
But I feel like in my last like relationships, like everyone's been very like, I think I go towards an empathetic person, and like, yeah, I had to tell Shane that he has to like brush his teeth at nighttime because he just didn't know that was a thing, which is like so weird. So like those like mommy moments, like teachings, but yeah,
and his mom's around a lot.
Yeah. I'm like, no one ever taught you to like brush. He's like, why do you brush your teeth at night? Brush them in the morning. Like it's so weird. I so don't understand, but
what a sweetheart.
Yeah. God bless him. Great teeth. Ironically, great teeth.
That's how it works. He didn't have to.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, and it's not like it's your responsibility. It is just like one of these things. What I've been like rubbing up against and struggling with is this like, especially since the beginning of Me Too and all this stuff, there's this shift happening. There's a pendulum swing.
Yeah.
So like we're recognizing all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm looking for how we can make it better. What are the actionable items? I don't know how often, or if you've had your own experiences with sexism, but like how often that plays into your life, and if there have been moments where you've kind of had to overcome those moments, I guess, with people.
I mean, I think in the workspace, like always, I know it sounds like a cliche, but it's just simply true, especially like stepping into producing roles and those positions, first of all, being like young in the industry in terms of like that position, and also being a female, it's like people aren't, and also being a YouTuber, right? So like people don't take us seriously like at all. And I think I've like learned to like find my voice. But I've made a lot of mistakes in the process of it, because I think sadly it's like there's like a push and a pull and there's a balance, right? Like you can't come at it so extreme
Right.
and so like that's not going to get the right attention, but you can't also be quiet. So it's like I'm learning where to find that like balance in between, and pick my battles when I can and let them go, and also like have faith in my knowledge and like my experience. And that's hard to do. And
Having the confidence to speak up
to be
for
like,
yourself
no,
in these moments.
men, all these men in suits, like I actually know what I'm talking about, and you need to listen to me.
Yeah.
And I'm always right. Admitting also that you're not always right, but yeah. So I guess there's sexism in that. Like,
And so you've had those moments, and how have they gone?
I mean, I've had like bad moments where I swung too high on the pendulum and didn't present myself well because I was trying too hard, or like it just. But I feel like I'm continuing to like move in the right direction and learn the tools. I'm also like choosing a lot of times to work with women, so
Which it's
whether
like,
that's because of that, I don't know.
I mean, good.
Yeah,
How is that going?
it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, women are awesome.
I've been on some sets where it's an all-female crew, and it is a completely different energy.
Yeah.
And this is again, the point of this is not to like bash on men, but it is just interesting to look at that and go, okay, there is less posturing, there is less kind of energy of dominance, because that's the big thing.
That's right.
Nobody's trying to like one-up each other. It's all kind of more collaborative. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think like especially like in like if you're on a set or something, it's because we're so used to it not being like that. So everyone's like empowered because it's all women and we're like cheering each other on, and like the set was set up that way specifically. It's not like that randomly happened. Right. Not yet. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think everyone's like championing each other. I do think like sometimes women are like super catty towards each other and insecure around each other. But I think in that particular setting, if it's set up that way, everyone's just like, fuck yeah, womanhood, But I don't know. Yeah, I think the dominance thing is right. But there's so many wonderful men that I've worked with. Who are so lovely and so trusting and so comfortable. So I don't really know if it's a matter of like what body part you have down there. I think it's just like what's in your heart. Oh,
there's the clip. No, I mean, you're right. And we're speaking in a general The aim sense. Is to not generalize too much.
Yeah.
But I have been reading this book, Men Explain Things to Me by Rebecca Solnit, and it's kind of where mansplaining kind of originated, her essays. And the stats she presents are just staggering. The amount of violent crimes, the amount of rape, the amount of spousal abuse. Yes. It is in the 90s for men and the below 10s for women.
Yes.
And so that kind of disparity, it's hard not to generalize.
That is right.
And so in that case, and it's like a partner gets beaten every 6 seconds in this country.
Jesus.
Every 6 seconds. I read that and I was like, oh, so this is the big problem.
Yeah.
What can I do?
What can I do?
What can I do about it? Change the way I interact with the world. Something, I mean, you can really speak to. You have been a public figure. You've been doing YouTube, a lot of followers on Instagram and stuff like that. Have you seen behaviors shifting, specifically on Instagram? How do you interact with it, and do you like what it is right now?
I want to say I'm seeing a nicer shift. I feel like I make a conscious effort to present, at least in the recent years, as a very like overly supportive, non-judgmental person. Mm-hmm. Not saying that I wasn't that before, but before, like on YouTube, comedy was so brash and like, it was just like so
edgy and
it was so different.
Pranks and
like dick jokes for days, which like I love. But like, I feel like what the world needs right now in these spaces is a lot more empathy. It's exactly what you're saying and you're doing, and like this need to sort of like spread the message in the way we know how, which for me is just like trying to be relatable and open and like accepting, so that I am then harvesting people of that nature. And it's very rare now that I'll see mean comments. Sometimes they'll come like later, but like the core group of people are all super supportive of each other, and I try to cultivate that by like responding and like really just putting out the good and hoping that comes back. It's not always the case, but like trying to be a role model however I can, and like, you know, taking the filter off everything, so to speak, so that...
In what way?
Just like, I think that everything's too filtered, like literally and figuratively, where it's like this, people have been presenting themselves as so perfect, and oh, look at all the stuff that I own, and look how much money I have, and look how skinny I am, or whatever it is. And it's like, well, that's not like really the reality. I mean, maybe it is for some of those people, but like the truth of it is like I've met a lot of these people, and like everyone has their struggles, and everyone's like imperfect, and why are we not showing that? And like I have a lot of friends who are moms, and they're all struggling in one way or another. They're doing great, they love it, but like they're so frustrated by all these moms who are like presenting these perfect families and these perfect scenarios, when the truth of the matter is like right after that picture is taken, you know, all hell broke loose. And it's like, I feel like people need to be empowered by the imperfect. Yeah. So I try to like show all sides.
Speaking to, you have a lot of friends with kids. I guess that's a little bit what your book's about.
Yeah, it sure is.
What was the, just to talk about that for a little bit, because I'm interested in how you write a book, publish a book. Yeah. How did that start? How did getting a book made start? Was it you had the idea, someone came to you?
Someone came to me like a long time ago when all the YouTubers were putting out books, and I was like in my late 20s at that point, and I just like didn't want to just like shit something out to do it. Although it probably would have sold more back then, but whatever, sold more back then. But I just like didn't have stories to tell. And then I entered my 30s. I went through that big public breakup. And then I started seeing a huge shift in dynamics of friendship, because some people were getting married and having kids. And it was like a really weird time. Like I found that to be the hardest time. Like they say your quarter life crisis, but your quarter life. But I was like, nah, I was like blackout drunk on my quarter. Like, I don't remember. Like 20s are fine. I was like, my 30 life crisis like really did come when that dynamic shifted and like everything was different. And and then I got approached to write again. And I was like, yeah, I'm ready. I've got so many stories to tell about this, like trying to figure out this time and these friendships and the next steps and all that stuff.
And so you're through that now. Looking back, are you like, oh, I kind of weathered the storms of that crisis?
Yeah, dude, I weathered hard though. Like, I don't know if you could tell, I weathered. It was hard. Yeah. I mean, and those things will continue, right? Like, I'll continue to like come up against things. That's what life is. I think we're always like, that's the shit of it, guys. That's the shit of it. It's like, yeah, I got through the hard stuff. It's like, no, it's never. And you're always evolving, but that's also the beauty of it.
There is no moment where you are done.
No.
And you're not, it's never going to get easier.
No.
It can, but that's inside.
Yes. And in this.
And in here.
Yes.
Here and here. It gets easier if you can look at things from a place of, you know, I'm observing this. I don't have to be so connected emotionally to what's happening.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like letting things kind of roll off a little bit easier and finding like balance. But yeah, I did get through the crux of it.
How has your content and output shifted and changed through falling in love? How has that changed your work? Because you are your work. You are your own product.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I feel a little more grounded. So it's like the stuff that's coming out is even more authentic. It's still a job, and it's still like I like crap out stuff often because you have to. Yeah. But I do feel like I actually like my content more now because I can see like real me, whether it's being received as well as the dick jokes 10 years ago.
But you've evolved.
And
Yeah.
and YouTube's evolved, and who knows how I'll feel about it. I like change my opinion on it like every day.
Like you've been doing this for a while. What are your plans? What is where are you going? I know this is
the grace is
this is my least favorite question to ask of myself.
Yeah.
It's been a real tough year of asking myself that.
Yeah.
But like
it's good though.
I don't know. Yeah. Have you thought about that?
I mean, YouTube is such a wonderful home base for me. It is open doors and given me so many opportunities. So I don't want to bite the hand that feeds me. But so I'll just like continue to play in that realm. And I really actually have fun on Instagram. And, I'll play around with that stuff because why walk away from something that so many people are trying to get into?
Yes.
I will never do TikTok.
Right.
But I continue to produce on a larger scale. So we're working on a show based off my book.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, I just want to produce TV shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like create. I just want to create.
Create on that scale. I mean, it's like leveling up. You can call it that, but it's also like getting your voice out to more people, to a different
audience,
group of
a
people.
broader, and take the ones that have been like, there's some people that have been with me like for 10 years, like been watching me, and like those people I'm so grateful for, and hopefully they'll come with me wherever I go.
And I think what's cool is just specifically about you is like you make a TV show that's going to have this thoughtfulness. That's going to have this root of peace and and I don't know, maybe not spirituality, but like where you're coming from,
of course,
is just so much more thoughtful than it would have been 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so
I'm excited. And then those are my favorite kind of TV shows too. It's like dark comedies.
Yeah.
They're just the best. These like slice of life,
Yeah.
like insight to how we're all processing.
Yeah.
Because we're all processing. Dude, trip out.
Well, my mantra has been for the past year, we're all in this together. And the people forget that are the ones who are fucking it up for everybody
I
else.
know. But sometimes it trips me out if I start thinking on too like big of a scale.
Like what?
Okay, because now we're back to politics right now. We don't need to like dive deep. But like, we're coming up to this election and, politics, there's a lot of talk in my house about it and like just the world and choices and this and that. But like, I don't want to live in a bubble and I want to be aware of everything that's going on, like globally speaking. But like when you have to think on like such a large scale, then I start tripping out like, oh yeah, we are all on this together. Like we like started from a really small seed, whatever you think that seed is, and like we've grown and we've like done this to ourselves, and like these rules like we just all like kind of made up, and like none of this is real, and like what is this? Do you know what I mean? Like I just like trip hard, and like politics are so true. I don't know.
No, how any of it functions.
It's just so bonkers.
It's completely bonkers. We are all seat of our pants. There are rules, but like the rules come from nothing. Yeah. Somebody said it a while ago, tradition, and that's the only way we can we have to not worry about it for most of the time so that we can just.
But we're all just like kind of moving pieces, and like that's weird.
Yeah,
and like guys, are we a simulation? Like what is actually happening?
Yeah.
Like are we gonna like pull out and we're Truman showing? Like
right.
So that's when I'm like, I gotta just like watch The Bachelor for right now. You know what I mean? That's why I like love reality TV, like or trashy TV sometimes, because it's like I just need to numb.
The Bachelor is a perfect example. This part of my brain goes, this is the most patriarchal fucking...
Oh, yeah, dude. It's
pretty sexist. Like, there's no equality in this.
Correct.
And the Bachelorette is completely different.
Oh, yeah,
like, she's not just fucking every dude. Like, that's not how it goes.
Yeah.
But he is having sex with a lot of them. And...
by the way, I would have sex with all of them. So when people are like, oh my God, she's such a slut. I was like, if you were on the show, you would have sex with all of them too.
Yeah, of course. And so it's this fantasy... And so it's like, but it's also serving this purpose because we cannot always be thinking about everything all the time. And you have to, again, just it's part of the balance, and all you can do is control how much of that you feed your head. Yeah.
And what you,
and how much of it you let it influence your life. If you're looking at that and going like, that's what I want, then that's genuinely not healthy. You cannot look at that as a healthy situation.
If you're just like, this is just
but
fun.
This is fun and the fantasy of it. Like, yes. So now that's also the fun balance of like genuinely like being awoken to like the female experience and looking through the lens of that so much more, where you're like, this is injustice. This is so fucked up. And I'm like, well, man, people like it. I can't rage against this machine all the time.
But there's right? There's got to be a balance.
Yeah. And to speak to the macro that you're talking about, you can't control all that.
Right.
So all you can do is you can have balance. And you can't force any balance on anybody else.
Yeah.
And you can talk about your balance to people who feel like listening and not force it on people who don't give a shit about it.
Yeah.
And then that's it. So that's like that. That's the macro going into here, because you go,
Yeah.
all this stuff's happening and I want to help.
All you can do.
But all I can control is what I'm doing right now.
And putting out the best energy that you can.
Yeah.
And like, if you have kids, like raising them the
Right.
best you know how.
That's the best thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking a little bit to the macro stuff, to the political sphere, how do you handle situations where you are at odds with someone at a deep level and want to convince them of your way, or just explain why you think your side of the argument is right? How do you approach those situations, or do you at all?
Oh, like I just don't think I think I'm lucky in the fact that I grew up here in LA. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of like-minded people. I feel like I live in the greatest place that I could be in right now. Like just surrounded by like a lot of forward-thinking, like-minded people. So I don't think I've had to like face that as much. I think if and when I do, I avoid it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's...
Because it might not help.
I just don't think the people that are so set in opposite ways of me in many things are gonna ever change. Mm-hmm. So it's either like step away from those kind of people, or accept that they have their reasonings and we have differences, and that's that. But for the most part, I feel like I've got pretty like-minded people around me. And I'm learning as I get older too, like some friends just like don't serve you anymore. And it doesn't mean like that they're bad people or like anything's wrong with them or anything's wrong with you. It's just like, you still like part ways from friends over time. Like,
and it's okay.
And it's okay.
And it is not
it's totally normal.
Really personal or mean. It's just like, we're moving in different directions.
Yeah.
We're, our vibrations are different.
Dude, our vibrations are different. Ours are the same.
That's what it is.
Yeah. No, it's so true. Can I tell you something too? Like,
I always hesitate to go to the hippie side of things. But
I'm such a hippie.
But that's the true shit.
Yeah, that is the truth.
You can feel vibrations from people.
Yeah.
That's how you know you like them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more you like hone in on that and learn your own, I think the more you like see other people that you maybe used to like vibrate with, and then you're like, oh yeah, no, we've shifted to like different.
And it's okay.
And
that's
it's totally
the thing.
okay.
It's fucking okay.
Yeah, it's just your ego.
Yeah.
Like, so it's hard sometimes to like remember that it's okay and not like take it personally or not feel guilt. I feel a lot of guilt sometimes, like where I'm like, like I know I made the right choice. Like this person wasn't healthy for me, or this person isn't serving, or whatever. But like then there's like guilt of like, but wait, am I not a good friend for like stepping back? But
they did these things. Do I owe them?
The Jewish guilt is ingrained deep inside of me.
What would you say is your greatest gift?
Empathy. Yeah. It's also my greatest curse. I feel everything.
Yeah.
So like it's hard not to pick up on someone else's like stuff.
Yeah.
So if like someone's like deeply sad or something, or like I can tell that someone's like they come off as bitchy, but I know deep down that they're so insecure, they're so sad, and I can't like let that go sometimes.
What do you do in that situation?
I'm learning to like
help them, or do you protect yourself?
Yeah, listen, right? Empathy, a lot of that also just comes with like listening and understanding and accepting. And I think I'm good at that, not judging. But I need to learn then when I walk away from that situation to let it go and don't let it like sit inside of me, because like that person's emotions aren't mine.
You're right.
But it's so easy to suck them in.
Yeah. Empathy and non-judgment, definitely. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
It's why I like doing this podcast.
Yeah.
It's why I feel like
When's your birthday?
I just was last week.
Oh, happy birthday.
Aquarius, thank you. Yeah.
Oh, you're
Is that why you're asking?
Aquariums, yeah.
Okay.
I think I said happy birthday to you too. Sorry, I forgot.
Maybe,
Yeah. Aquarians are great. I'm sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
I don't know much about that stuff.
Yeah.
You like it. Is it applicable? Is it useful to you?
Yeah, it's just fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you?
Aries.
Aries.
Yeah, but I really like Aquarians. I feel like Aquarians are super easygoing and spiritual. My mom's an Aquarian.
I don't. What are Aries?
We're fire signs. So we're like kind of go-getters, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, stubborn
You are?
assholes.
Yeah. Lisa, how does your heart feel right now?
Oh my God, it feels lovely. How does your heart feel?
Great. That's why.
Yeah.
I love talking about this. I love talking to you.
Oh my God, I could talk with you forever.
Yeah, and like we're friends, but like haven't hung out much at all. But
no,
like,
yeah,
but
and I haven't seen you
there's a
in forever.
kindredness I felt.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for being on the show.
Oh my God, thanks for having me.
Yeah, yeah.
Namaste. Did we say that at the end?
You can.